here as we are about to get ready for the qualifying session. We've got about a minute remaining here in practice, and then we'll be heading across into the 15-minute qualifying session to determine the grid for the 45-minute race. A mandatory pit stop is included tonight. And to shake things up a bit, unlike what we've seen in any stream before here on Race Room, we are running with full damage, and that is in preparation for the Race Department GT Championship here at racedepartment.com. Immediately invalidated the lap. The game detects that as a corner cut anyway, so that will be a violation of the in-game rules, which will invalidate the lap as well. George Ortner going around the circuit at the moment, pushing it over the apex, pushing it to the limits into turn number 1. Looking at some of these names then that are taking part tonight. So as we are back here, I do apologise for that. There has been some issues with the software that I am using, so that was not your fault at all. That was definitely my fault on my end. So I'm skipping over one of the pieces of software that I've used because it's actually broken. I was supposed to be streaming to YouTube and Twitch tonight. However, the Twitch side of it is broken and the YouTube is very, very laggy. So we won't be using that tonight, and we'll stick with just YouTube until the issues are fixed. But we are currently looking at our qualifying order at the moment. An improvement in his time from Ortner puts him into a 1:37.9. Edro Sahar is in second with a 1:39.0, so still over 1 second behind Ortner. We then have just 0.029 seconds between Sahar and Bonda. He sits in third. Calvin White in fourth. Magnus Sternberg currently rounding out your top 5. So we're here then, 5 minutes into qualifying. 19 lap times have currently been placed on the board. We have 30 overall in the session at the moment as we head around. Looking at Lorenzo Bonda at the moment, heading through the hairpin through turn number 6, which is the Spitzke hairpin. I'm back to pronouncing German corner names, and last time that happened, I believe it was the Nordschleife the last time that I actually did a proper German circuit, and I butchered every single corner name. So we'll probably continue doing that for tonight. So let's hope that doesn't happen, as we have got about 9 minutes to go in the session now. Drivers continue to go around. I'm looking at this grid, and I think it's getting really close actually, because Eduardo Sahar is actually only now 2/10 off of George Ortner. Now normally when Ortner gets involved in a race, he's up front and he's there all race long. He tops every single timesheet. He's always up front and he's always improving on his time. Lorenzo Bonda running very wide there, improves on his lap time, but I don't think that should have been allowed. Pushing it very, very wide indeed in turn number 1. Now, of course, if the game doesn't take it as a corner cut, drivers are going to continue to push hard, but they need to remember the rules at Race Department. 4 wheels across that white line, and it is a violation of our corner cutting rules. So just come off the throttle, even only for a second. If that's how much you've gained, then just come off very, very slightly. But even that could be considered as a violation of that rule, just very slightly over. It's very close, it's very hard, and when you're in qualifying, it's very hard to police yourself whilst driving around. So, as we get around, I hope that there is improvement. Yes, I'm always breaking things. Stop. I need to stop reading chat because you'll keep on telling me off. Right, 8 minutes to go in the session then. As we continue to go across the line is Hatem Abd El Kader. Now, I'm going to get that name wrong so much whenever I go to speak it very quickly. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to say that name very well. He sits in 20th at the moment with a 141.3. He's 4th slowest out of all the ones who have taken part. Well, we've currently put in a lap, in the session. 31 cars now sit in the session. We have 32 spaces available. As we come through the penultimate turn goes Ovind Anderson in the Ford GT. Not one of my favourite GT cars, I'm not going to lie. It's actually probably one of my least favourite. I have a whole list of the GT cars here that are running tonight. So we've got the BMW M6. I believe that's what we're actually looking at right now. I don't like it. I know a lot of people like their BMWs, but I'm not a great fan on it. We've also got the Audi R8. Like I said before, my favourite, by far my favourite of the GT3 cars is the Audi R8. We've got the McLaren 650S, a very beautiful car indeed. Probably maybe third or fourth favourite. Ford GT is just the bottom. A bottom of the bottom. It's at the bottom of the barrel in the deep blue sea. That's what it is. The McLaren SLS, again, not a very beautiful car and really not one of my favourites. That's probably placed higher than the BMW though. We got the Bentley, probably again not my favourite, probably placed just higher than the McLaren SLS. We've got the Rough, probably placed just underneath the Audi, and then we've got the Corvette, which is third. So my list would be Audi R8, Rough, Corvette, Bentley, McLaren SLS, BMW M6, Ford GT. And that's my list out of the ones that are racing tonight. I say that's my order. I'd love to know some of your orders. What would be your favourite? And what are your worst of the GT cars? Because we're going to be seeing all of them in action tonight. We're going to see them all in action in a month's time as well at the start of the Race Department GT Championship. So that is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to show who can push their cars to the limits and who can do it for a long period of time. So I can't wait for that league to start. And the first race of that will be on the 8th of October at Silverstone. So be sure to join us then. Lorenzo Bonda currently on a purple lap time. Will he be able to get pole position ahead of George Ortner? He crosses the line, and in the final sector it is an improvement, but it's not good enough. He's now only 3/10 behind Ortner, only a 10th behind Sahar, but it's not enough to go ahead of George Ortner. But it's going to be close in that battle. Even Jonas Hillert has been able to close in within that second barrier now of the fastest. And coming through here into the penultimate corner goes Radek Paleskes. Radek Paleskes. I think I've been saying that wrong all this time. I'm not too sure. Anyway, he moves himself up into 9th from about 14th position in session. So great improvement for the BMW. Now looking at the Corvette of Jeremy Mook. One of the number of new names. Obviously, out of the 32 drivers, there are 10 new names for me tonight. So there are lots of names to be learning. Jeremy Mook pushing it very slightly wide through the penultimate corner. Through the final corner, he aborts his lap by the look of it there. Yes, he does. Looking at Edward Saar, though, he goes purple and all-time fastest in the first sector on this lap. Will he be able to hold that through sector number 2 as he comes through the Spitzker hairpin? I'm really bad at German corner names. It's terrible. Coming through turn number 7 now is Saar, and he's going to be pushing his Rough to the limit, getting right to the right-hand side of the circuit. Now coming through. And wobbling ever so slightly as he comes up towards the arena. Pushing it very wide through the exit of turn number 10. Technically, that's actually turn number 11 as well. The straight is called turn number 11, according to my track map I was looking at, which is very strange. Through the into the final sector, he again is fastest overall in the second sector, but a very big twitch on the exit of turn number 13. He's not going to like that coming through the penultimate turn. Now again, a big twitch, pushing it very much to the limit. I think this is going to lose him his improved lap time now. Very far over the apex through the final turn. What will it be? It'll be a 38.6. It's not an improvement. It's half a second off of his personal best so far. 3 minutes to go in the session, and currently George Ortner is holding on to your pole position. We've still yet to see 2 drivers put in a lap time, Isaac Chavira and Pietros Blasicek. I don't think we will be seeing them out. for the remainder of the session. As we see Isaac on track now, but we don't see Blashisak, so it looks like it won't be improved there. Charles Baccio moves up to 17th from 19th. It's really strange to see Charles so far down the order, actually. I don't think I normally see him that far down. Eduardo Saar once again on the fastest first sector. What's he going to be able to do in the middle sector here? There's a 21.417 in that opening part of the course, the middle part of the course, coming through turn number 10 now. It's going to cross that timing line, for the sector line anyway, very shortly. It's very slightly behind. It's less than half a tenth behind. Pushing it very wide through the exit turn number 12 though. Really be able to keep it together and go to the top of the timing sheets right at the end of qualifying. Getting too much of the green runoff turf on the inside. And it wobbles the car slightly. Big slide into the penultimate turn. Pushes it very far over the apex. Through the final turn now. Ooh, I don't think it's going to be an improvement. A 137.9 to beat. It's a 138.7. He's going to continue on though. He's still got 1.5 minutes. He's got to do this lap to improve. Will he be able to do it? I'm not too sure. Alex Cousin currently 24th in the session and one of the new names for me. He is currently on his personal best on the lap, which is very wide through the final turn. Comes across the line. It's an improvement and pushes it up into 20th position behind Charles Baccio. And then, like I say, it's very weird to see Baccio so far down the order tonight. He's never normally the bottom half of the field, but he is very much so in that bottom half at the moment. Daniel Trapp in 15th position. That's another name I'd expect to see a little bit higher, but that's more relative to what we would expect. Malachi Bacchus in the GT3s is normally unstoppable, but he's sitting in P12. He's really got competition around him now. Further, it looks like that's really the order that I was expecting from the rest of them. But that's really strange to see Malachi Bacchus in P number 12, 1.5 seconds off of the pace of Ortner, which is a huge difference. But Saar going overall best in the middle sector there after a personal best in the first sector. Going to come out now. This is going to be his last chance. Will he be able to put it to the top of your timing sheets through the penultimate turn? And now through the final turn, he's going to come across the line. And what is it going to be as the session ticks to a close? Will he be able to do it? No, he will not. And he remains in second. So Ortner getting your pole position. Saar in second. Bonda in third. As we continue to look down further, the order will be skipping across to the race very shortly. So we've got a 45-minute race available for, well, sorry, what am I saying available? We've got a 45-minute race coming up for our 31 drivers that were in the session at the end of qualifying, as we are going to be getting ready to go green here on the first lap of this race. With the timings that we were getting, I'm going to expect about, oh, I've got to do maths now, 45 laps, 1.5 minute laps, well, further than that, 1 minute and 45 minutes, which means it would be about, I think it'll be about 3 minutes per 2 laps, so 45 minutes would take 30 laps? Let's assume we'll have about 30 laps of racing. I never get to find out how many laps they actually do race because I never get that information, and it's really sad. But anyway, look at that lovely grid lined up. 31 cars sitting on the grid. We're going to wait for the lights to climb up and then go down, and they are out, and we are away here. For 45 minutes of racing, that's already 2 cars around. There's a Mercedes and a Corvette facing the complete wrong way off the line. We now come through turn number 1. It looks like it's very clean, but it's going to be Mook, who's already been able to squeeze past Hiller, as the order at the front has already changed dramatically from what the qualifying order was. We look further down, there's cars going side by side into turn number 3. There's already a McLaren backwards, and that is not what Magnus Sternby would have wanted after qualifying so high. There's another BMW, sorry, that's a Bentley off the road. Malachi Bacchus has been able to move himself up the order. He's up into 5th position now, running on the outside of Anders Meyer. He's going to be on the inside into the hairpin, but I think he's already got the position confirmed. It's going to be easy move for him, but back in the distance there's contact, and there's a whole domino effect into the hairpin, as it looks like it's cleared up before any more cars get involved in that. So they'll be back racing again, and it looks like it's relatively clean from what I was expecting, with 32 cars heading into those corners, as well as a couple of cars that went around. But everyone is still in this race, which is always a good thing. But no, Eduardo Sa'a qualified second. He's been put around and is now all the way down to P number 23 as he gets back onto the circuit. The leader is now Jeremy Mook, because George Ortner is down to third. I believe he may have had the contact with Sa'a. I'm not too sure though, but it's now Jeremy Mook, one of the newcomers leading this event. It's Jonas Hillett in second, George Ortner down to third. Malachi Bacchus is up to fourth from 12th position on the grid. That is an amazing opening lap of this motor race for him, as we continue to look through the rest of your order as they come across the line, 2 minutes down on the opening lap of the race. As they come through turn number one, pretty much single file now, trying to go as far to the inside of turn number one as possibly can. Jim Garris looks to the inside of Casper Hugard, but can't quite do it. Further down though, we're getting an overtake. Daniel Trapp is side by side with Ab El Qada here. He's going to hold the inside line and become the outside through the next turn. The Mercedes is through. In fact, Ab Kahalda is going to get overtaken by Eduardo Sa, who goes through as well, because Eduardo moving back up the order after his contact and spin on the opening lap. Paul Fenwick is also moving past Alb El Qada, who's falling quickly down the order. We have a Mercedes facing the wrong way through the exit. There's a hairpin, and that's going to be Pietro Blasicek spinning and not making a braking point at all into that hairpin. 4 wide on the exit there. There's all these cars at the back of your field are going side by side. It's crazy. Paul Fenwick is chasing down Dave Soot. Dave Soot's on the left-hand side of that McLaren and Magnus Sternberg. Can't quite do anything with it at the moment, and they're going to go all single file into the next turn. Further up, though, going into the arena, we have so many trains forming around the circuit. It's just one continuous train almost for all these positions. Jim Garris looking for the inside of Casper Hugard. Can't quite do it. There's a slow BMW just up front. Garris has to dive to the right-hand side. That's Davy van der Veen falling down your order. Now down to 14th position in his BMW. Forced on the outside of Jose Paulo Miranda. But in fact, he's going to be able to hold it on the outside. Attempt to hold position. And this is going to be Alex Cosson behind, going to try and get involved in his roof. And is now side by side with Jose Paulo Miranda on the outside into turn number one. Will he be able to make that move? Very much exploiting track limits. He's going to get back onto the circuit. Surely he'll have a slowdown. Yes, he does, because he falls behind these cars. And he is going to be overtaken by 3 cars there. Lewandowski on the inside of Paulo Miranda is going to move up that position in his Chevrolet. Sorry, that's not the Chevrolet. Is that the Chevrolet? No, it's not. I think that's the Ford. I believe that's the Ford. I'm just being stupid now. So we come through into the hairpin, and it is going to be Miranda being overtaken by Paul Martin now. The Mercedes goes slightly wide, a little bit of oversteer, and he's now got Ross Garland all over his rear. He'll be trying to get through, but he's dropped off a little bit and isn't going to be able to do that. Back up to the battle in your lead. It's still Jeremy Mook over Jonas Hillett, and George Ortner, which is a surprise, is not able to really fight for that lead. 5 minutes into the event, he's actually fallen about a second off actually of Jonas Hillett, and about 1.5 seconds off of your race leader. Malachi Bacchus is a further 1.5 seconds behind that, so he could get involved and get past George Ortner and knock Ortner off of a podium, which I believe he's achieved every single race that we've broadcast him in. I think he's actually won every single one of those races. Ross Garland is able to get through past the the Mercedes of Daniel Trapp, who's forced on the outside. Trapp's now got Saar right behind him, and Saar will be trying to move up those positions. But it's going to be Daniel Chat moving to the right-hand side of Ross Garland up towards turn number 1. He's going to be on the inside line. Garland leaves as much room as possible. That there is a little bit of contact. Both of them wobbling. They've got back onto the circuit now, but there's a lot of cars getting involved, including Roy Magnus in the Audi, who's now gone for the inside line into turn number 2 as well. He's not going to be able to do it. Ross Garland moving down the order as Eduardo saw Colin Hurst get through. There's a little bit of contact. And now it's just a whole massive gaggle of cars, of people trying to avoid people sliding, having contact. It's just a whole train wreck at the back of the race at the moment. Up near the front, though, Jonas Hiller has made a slight mistake. He's made another one. That would have scared George Ortner. These technically two teammates, the 58 and 59 McLarens, running through up towards the stadium section. It's only half a second between Ortner and Hiller. But the gap between the leading two of Muke and Hillett is increased to about 2 seconds. Malachi Backus is also now only half a second off this battle as well, and could possibly get involved. So really, it's a 3-car battle for P number 2 at the moment. Anders Murr not too far behind in P number 5, so he could get through as well. And that would be amazing to see if we can see this 4-car battle for P number 2 up at your front. But at the moment, we do not have that near the front. We do have a battle, quite a big train of cars in this middle part of your course. Look at this. This is from about P12 all the way down to P number 29 in this huge train of cars. And everyone is going to be looking to make moves up the order, including this driver here, Eduardo Saar in the rough, moves to the right-hand side with the inside of Roy Magnus into turn number 1. He's looking to recover from the issues he had on lap number 1 of qualifying P2. Pushing it slightly too far over the apex on the exit turn 1. He's going to have Roy Magnus back on his right-hand side. Magnus holding that inside line. Sahar's going to hold the outside line. They're side-by-side behind as well. But this is the battle we're looking at. Magnus able to hold the position so far. Sahar's got back up the inside, coming through turn number 4 there. And they're going to be running side by side along the straight. Magnus trying to hold that outside because that will be the inside line into the hairpin. He's currently got it as they run. This is a battle for P number 16. Eduardo Saar currently ahead of Roy Magnus. And he's going to be able to do that because Magnus is actually now under attack from Paweł Lewandowski, heading out of the hairpin. Lewandowski is chasing down Roy Magnus, looking for a way up to P number 17. However, we're going to go have a little look back at your battle for P number 2. This is George Ortner all over the rear of Jonas Hillett into the penultimate turn. He's going to be trying his hardest to make a move through, pushing right to the inside of the course, to the outside of the course. Hillett running slightly off of the circuit there. They come across the line. The gap is less than 0.2 of a second into turn number 1. They both push it slightly over the apex. It's bouncing a heck of a lot as they hit those apexes. He moves to the inside. This is surely going to be an overtake into turn number 2. Currently Ortner's through to second, but Hillett's not going to allow that to go through. Clearly he's trying to attack back, can't quite do it. And now Jonas Hillett is behind George Ortner, coming through turn number 5 with the Parabolica. He'll be trying his hardest to move up the positions and attempt to move back into second. Looks towards the inside very slightly, but doesn't actually go for the move. And it looks like George Ortner is going to be able to hold on to P number 2. And now Hillett is going to be under attack from Malachi Backus, who is only half a second down. This is the battle for P number 6, though. This is Lorenzo Bonda chasing down Radek Paleski here. They are coming through turn number 7 into turn number 8 now, and heading up towards the arena. The Bentley getting the much better turn in than the BMW through turn number 10. It looks like he's looking for the inside. Can't quite do it at the moment. He's going to have to remain behind. He's about 1/10 of a second behind. Coming through into the arena, heading up towards turn number 13. Bonda looked toward the inside. Definitely looked like he was trying to peek there. The gap has been completely left open, though, by Palesk there. Couldn't quite do anything from it by Bonda, so he's going to have to remain behind in this battle for P number 6. But he's not going to be too happy that he's staying behind. He's going to be trying his hardest to get through and be using every bit of track available, as shown there, on his pursuit to gain up into P number 6 and possibly for him even higher up the order. One of the drivers that qualified quite out of position would have been Charles Baccio, who, oh, as this overtake goes from Lorenzo Bondo, he's up the inside of Pileski here, and he is through. He is passed up to P number 6. Will he be able to hold on to it through the exit of the corner? Yes, he will. Talking about Charles Baccio here, he qualified completely out of order down the bottom of the field. P number 24, I think Baccio actually qualified in the end. He's in P26 at the moment. Normally, he does really well in the events he takes part in, but maybe this combination not very much to his liking, as he is currently in P number 26 trying to get up the order. Another driver qualified quite out of their positioning on the race course, Malachi Bacchus, who's been able to actually move up into P number 3 now because Jonas Hillett had some sort of issue and is down to P number 4. That's very strange indeed, but Malachi Bacchus up to P number 3, starting this race in P12. He got up to P number 5. No, he got to P number 4 in the opening lap of the race. I hear the pit lane sound ringing. Pit stop window has opened. It opened about a minute and a half ago. We see Isaac into the pit. Isaac Shavira into the pits. He's currently 31st out of our 31 races. Absolutely no retirement so far in the first 12 minutes of this race. Crosson on the inside of Calvin White. There's going to be contact as Crosson has nowhere to go. There was a little bit of a glitch as he went through Calvin White, but White just left no room at all for Crosson, who was on the inside. Then he decided that he was going to have some sort of foreplay and decides to go inside Calvin White, but that was not exactly what Crosson wanted. He's now down to P number 23 after only trying to move up into P number 18 in this race. Although with the pit stop window now open, it's all about the strategy. I've mentioned it every single time we have a mandatory pit stop involved in a race. That will always change everything. If you have one bad stop, then you could lose down all your positions. And this is my reference point that I'm always going back to. We saw the GT3 lead. Oh, there's a big slide there from Paweł Lewandowski. Allows David Sloot through and up to P number 21. There in that battle near the rear end of your field, as we go and have a little look at George Ortner as he's chasing down Jeremy Mook. I'm just going to point out this fact that we saw the GT3 leader, who was also leading about 3 of the GT2 cars, pit, and he lost it to the rear of the field and was a lap down. He lost an entire lap in the pit stop and finished in and came out of the pits in last purely because his pit stop was botched. And yet we've seen people who've been able to go from 3rd to 1st in class because of other people's botched pit stops. We see a BMW, I think, coming out of the pit lane there. Yes, it's BMW. That is Hatham Ab El Kada coming out of your pit from 30th position. So currently 30th and 31st have made their stop. Charles Baccio, 25th position in your race. He's been able to get up past Daniel Trapp and will continue to look up further up your order. Roy Magnus in the Audi has been doing actually rather well. If I'm not mistaken, he is in the only Audi. He's got Ross Garland all over the rear of him at the moment, and looking through it, he is in the only Audi that's racing tonight. There's a lot of smoke coming on from ahead. Luckily, it's a McLaren of Paul Martin, but luckily he was off the circuit. Roy Magnus chasing down Edward Saar. I don't think he's going to be able to make that move, but he has got Ross Garland only half a second down. Jonas Hillett has now lost it down a 5th position behind Anders Meer. So Hillett has been having some big issues. You can see coming through, he's sliding through most of these turns under braking, which is not what you want to see when you're trying to do a proper race. George Ortner is still right behind Jerry Mook in this battle for your lead. It's only half a second. And there's absolutely no pressure on Ortner. I've been in that position when you're in second, you're right behind the guy in front, and there's no pressure on you. You've just got to keep 2 races in line, not even focus on the guy ahead. But once you're on the lead, you've got to pay attention so much to your mirrors, and it can distract you and force you to make a mistake. And that is when we see the guy behind pounce, and I think that's what we're going to see here. Ortner just remain behind until an opening creates itself from an error from Jeremy Mook, probably an unforced error. Looking at that as well, so we shall see. It's also going to be seeing when these drivers come into your pit lane. That'll be another important factor. Will they decide to come in at the halfway point in the race, which will be in about, how long? About 6 minutes time will be the halfway point in the race. Or do they come in nearer the end of the mandatory pit stop window, have as fresher tyres as possible, have as little refueling as possible? A massive drift coming out of the hairpin from Jeremy Mook there in this battle for your lead. About half a second between them at the moment. 16 minutes are down in this race. 29 minutes remain as we watch the battle for the lead between Jeremy Mook in the Corvette and George Ortner in the McLaren. Ortner very close indeed, only half a second behind at the moment. In fact, this is our closest battle on track from what I'm looking at. So that is amazing to see that our closest battle is in fact for your race lead. So we're currently on the rear end of Jeremy Mook. He's looking back towards George Ortner coming through the final turn. This is the daunting view of the rear view mirror for Jeremy Mook. This is what he is seeing directly behind him. And as long as he can keep it together, as long as he isn't pressured too much, we shall see. I think we should see a good battle for the lead all the way to the end. But again, it's going to be about your pit stop strategy. What are you going to do? Ortner getting very close to the rear end of Mook there. That would have been very worrying, I think, for both drivers getting so close. Definitely with full damage being enabled tonight, of course, remember. So all the mechanical damage as well as visual damage to these cars. But what's surprising is we've had less retirements than when we don't even have damage turned on. We've had 0 retirements so far this race, even though one of our drivers is a minute behind the rest of the field. That just shows that we are powering on and not retiring early from the race sessions, which is exactly what we want to see at Race Department. The gap between your race leaders has increased to about a second through the straight there, which is extremely strange to see, actually. I wasn't expecting for the gap to open up so much, but it has. And I think it might be able to close back up in this middle part. But I think Ortner might be backing off. He knows that I think he knows he's not going to go for the overtake. So why be so close when you can jump him in the pit lane and not have to worry? Will we be seeing him come in within the next couple of laps, then do his mandatory stop out the way, and hopefully, in his mind, jump Jeremy Mook in the pit stop strategy? Staying out at the moment, your race leaders continue through. 7/10 separate them, actually 6/10 separate them as they come across the line to start a new lap. As we are looking once more at Roy Magnus. This is a 3-car battle at the moment. Hugard actually dropping off as we went to have a little look. He still had a slide through the last turn. But this is Roy Magnus, about half a second, off of Paul Martin. That's a battle for P number 16 at the moment. As you can see, from top 20, the top 26, all of them yet to do their pit stops. In fact, actually saying that, we've just seen that Radek Polesk is into the pits and is going to be doing his mandatory stop in the number 15 BMW. Exiting the pit lane now. Where will he rejoin? It looks like he's going to join inside the top 10. He will, but he's got Oliver Telglerhost behind, and there's a big incident behind. 2 cars are around, Magnus Stanbury, and I'm not too sure who the other car is in that. Colin Herx is also coming into your pit lane now. He's going to rejoin the circuit, but it looks like he's going to drop outside of your top 26. Or will he, as he comes to the exit of the pit lane, as these mandatory stops are now being made halfway through this motor race. 20 minutes down, 25 minutes to go. Herx gets back onto the racing line in 25th position. Is looking back up, further up your order. The race lead is completely increased here. Ortner surely doing a pit stop now. He will. He's dropped almost 3 seconds off the race lead. Maybe something wrong with the tyres. I'm not too sure, but that is a massive drop off on the in lap for George Ortner. Now coming down the pit lane for P number 2. It will put Malachi Bacchus into second position in this race. It will move Anders Murr into third. A very, very quick stop from George Ortner indeed as he gets going again. It's in 59. McLaren will now come to the pit exit. And he exits the pits and will come back onto the circuit. He only drops it down to about P number 6, and it looks like he will remain there. Yes, he will. He's got 5.5 seconds to the car behind of Davy van der Veen. He has 8 seconds to the next car on track in a position, that is, which is Lorenzo Bonda. However, he's only got about a second to Hatem Ab El Kada, who sits just in front on circuit. Let's see him continue around. He's sitting in 6th now. So it's going to be about when do we see this man here, your race leader, Jeremy Mook. When do we see him come into the pit from the lead of your race? And where will we see him rejoin compared to Ortner? Definitely bearing in mind Ortner's in-lap was very slow indeed. Dropped 3 seconds off of Mook's pace. But will Mook jump at this? Will he decide, I'm going to pit now, lose as little time as possible on worn tyres? Will he go and stick to his original strategy, whatever that may be? We shall see now as he comes through the penultimate turn. A big slide. He's going to remain out on circuit, and Jeremy Mook will continue on unfazed by the early stop of George Ortner. Not really an early stop, in fact. It is about halfway done now. But we haven't seen too many cars into the pits. It is really now pit stop stages. We'll really be seeing most of them into the pits. This is a battle, though. At the moment, Calvin White dives up the inside of Eduardo Saar, then pushes it too hard off the edge of the circuit. Saar back up in the 2 roughs, battling for 14th position now. That's actually allowed Piotr Blasasak in the Mercedes just behind to attempt to go through and maybe move up the position to 15. But currently the gap between them is about a second. The gap between White and Saar is about a second or so. So the gap still remaining quite distant, but at the same time quite close. A second is not too much. Here you go. Comes Calvin White into your pit lane. The first of the midfield bunch to stay out. What? That was very weird as Calvin White dives into the pit lane. He dives into the wall at the same time. And that is going to be damage to the car. Very possibly even mechanical damage as well. Very weird pit entrance from the number 04 car. Ross Garland has also come into the pits from 26th position. Missing the pit box does the Camaro. Sorry, does the Ford. It's not a Camaro. I keep on saying that. And he completely missed his box. And he has to go back forwards. Now that is a botched pit stop from Ross Garland. That is a lot of time lost. The actual stop itself, very quick indeed. But that was so much time lost for Ross Garland. So he came in just behind... I can't even remember the name now, they're so far apart. He came in just behind Calvin White, who's in 24th, Ross Garland in 27th. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that is 26 seconds worth of time. But Daniel Trapp is going to look past Jose Paulo Miranda. It's about a tenth of a second between them. This is for 21st position. Both of them have done their stops, so they are legitimately battling for position. Alex Gosson in front of them has not pitted, however, although he is directly in front of them on circuit at the moment. And that will be alongside with Casper Hugard, who also is yet to do a proper pit. Coming through the into the arena section, and Daniel Trapp is right behind Jose Paulo Miranda. Davy van der Veen into the pit box now. So he's into the pits. He's down to 10th currently. Will he further fall down the order? He's in 12th as he's moving out of the pits down to 13th. And that is going to be Hugard into your pit lane. No, that was Alex Gossens into your pit lane. Hugard remains out on circuit. And he remains just in front of this battle. Involved in this battle also is Colin Herx. There's a big slide, actually. So Jose Paulo Miranda goes around at turn number 1. And he is backwards through the exit turn 1. He's now got to wait until the coast is clear. He's reversing back and he's getting it back straight now. That is a lot of time lost. He gets it back going again. What I'm surprised to say, though, 25 minutes into this motor race, and we are yet to see a retirement. Even with the full damage that we are running, we have got 31 races still going of our 31 starters, which I don't think I have ever seen before in Race Room Sunday. In comes Anders Myrno to do his mandatory stop. Jeremy Mook is yet to make his stop, however. 4 minutes to go. He leads the session by 19 seconds, but he is yet to do a stop. Is he waiting to the very end, put on some fresh tyres, fill up as little fuel as possible, and then just go for it in the final stint? But he is losing time to Ortner, staying out at the moment. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the pit window closes with 10 minutes to go in this race, so he's still got a long time to race on track at the moment. That was Alex Crossan facing the wrong way into turn number 8, on the exit of turn number 8 into turn number 9. He's facing the wrong way in his rough. Gonna have a little look at Mook here, just see if he comes into the pits at the moment in this race. 18 minutes to go in this session. Coming through the penultimate turn now. He remains out in his Corvette and will remain in the lead of the race with a 20-second lead over the rest of the field. Jonas Hillett is chasing down Jim Graz, who has run completely off at turn number 10. And that is complete violation of the track limits. As you can see, he's had to come completely off the throttle to give back all of the time gained, which means Jonas Hillett moves up into P number 5. Not much of an overtake, bearing in mind Gareth did have a penalty, but it will still feel nice for Hillett to move back into a top 5. Bearing in mind he was battling for the lead of the race at the start of this session. Lorenzo Bonda is in 8th at the moment. He's chasing down Radek Polesk for P number 7. It's about quarter of a second into turn number 1. The BMW behind the BMW. No, that's the Bentley behind the BMW. The Bentley moves to the right hand side, can't quite do it. Bonda remains behind Polesk at the moment, coming through turn number 2, having a little bit of a wobble on the exit, does Bonda. Sure, Polesk isn't actually too far behind Jim Garris either. So with Garris' penalty, he's not only lost out to Hill, he's actually lost a lot of time. He's now under attack from Polesk and Lorenzo Bonda. So it's a 3-car battle for P number 6. That's in a second separate them all. Polesk moves to the inside. Bonda moves to the outside. That is going to be Garris off the circuit very wide. Bonda has a big snap of oversteer. He's able to hold it. It's now the 2 BMWs of Garris and Bonda running side by side. Bonda's currently got the inside line, and he's going to keep it because Garris backs out of it in the number 7 Bentley, and he is now down to P number 8. Bonda up to P number 7, but he's run it too deep, and now it's going to be Garris having to slam on the brakes to avoid Bonda. And actually, Bonda's going to pull away with that, even though he did disadvantage Jim Garris quite a bit. Not through contact, but through running wide onto the racing line and slowing down Garris. He pulls away in 7th, but take advantage of what comes, really. What racing is racing. Your race lead is in, though, and he is going to lose out on your lead. He doesn't lose out too much as he exits pit lane. He's right at the end of the pit lane. He is only 3.6 seconds behind. Hopefully, the Ford on the left, his left-hand side, won't battle him too much, and he'll be able to pull away. And that is Lewandowski. He is going to be able to pull away from Paolo Lewandowski. He's 4 seconds behind George Ortner. That means he lost 7 seconds on the moment Ortner pits on the moment he pitted. It's not too much, though. 4 seconds. I think Mook could pull it back depending on what happens to George Ortner. There could be some issues, and it could cause Mook go back into the lead. Jim Garris has now done his mandatory stop from P number 9. That's not counted as a mandatory stop, sir. Garris's mandatory stop is not classed as that stop being completed. Eduardo Saar is also yet to do his mandatory stop. Both of the little symbols on the left-hand side for them are still red. Same with a number of drivers, in fact, but I think Pietro Blasizak into the pits at the moment. That's a very weird way to be pulling into the pit box, but it's counted. Well, take what comes, I think. I don't think they'll do that in real life. I don't think they'd really allow that in the GT Championship, the Blank Pain series, but hey-ho. Again, go with what comes, I assume. Eduardo Saar, though, in 10th at the moment, chasing down Jim Garris. Both yet to do their pit stops. Or their mandatory stops. I think they've both actually been... Well, we saw Garris has already been down pit road. I think Saar's already been down pit road as well. But neither of them have... Their pits hasn't counted as the mandatory stop. Which means that they will have to do another visit to pit road. Otherwise, they will get some sort of penalty at the end of the race. Now, I'm not too sure what that penalty is. But they will get a penalty at the end of the race if they don't do that mandatory stop. As they are still battling it out for P number 9 at the moment, though. Dave Soot is side by side with Jose Paul and Miranda. Coming through here. Try to keep it side by side to turn number 9. He's going to move to the outside. It'll become the inside into turn 10. He's right behind McLaren. He has nowhere to go. It's a complete sandwich. Now Blasicek is going to get involved up the inside. Sloot moves to the right, trying to squeeze off, trying to leave no room at all. Is now 3 wide into turn number 12. It's going to remain with Sloot and Miranda side by side. Coming through the left-hander, Sloot's going to stay behind Miranda. In this battle, it's got Fiala leading Miranda, leading Sloot, and Blasicek is behind him. Tried to get involved, couldn't quite do it. Now Sloot's behind Blasicek coming through the chicane into the penultimate turn. They're going to be very close indeed. That was slightly wide just in front by Fiala. Sloot is still behind Miranda coming through the Sloot's final corner. Across the line, really trying to make a move on the inside. He looks for it, he backs out of it though. He's not going to make that move. He's not side by side. He wasn't able to get it side by side. But heading up to turn number 2, this is a major overtaking location. Heavy on the brakes. You can sneak out the inside, and that's definitely what Sloot was trying to do, but way too far back to make that move on Miranda. And now it's opened up ever so slightly. But that was the McLaren of Martin Fiala off the circuit. And this is now turned into a battle for P number 19 as Fiala moves down to 23rd because Paul Martin in the red McLaren also able to get through and moves up to 22nd position. Here comes Sloot on the outside of Miranda though. Will he be able to do it? He's going to try to switch back. No, he can't. He loses too much time. Can't quite perform the switchback move. Has to remain behind in 20th at the moment. Blasicek will be trying to penetrate into the top 20 position. Currently 21st in the session, right behind this battle for P number 19. You've got Sloot directly behind Miranda, both in the BMWs. You've then got the McLaren right, Mercedes, sorry, behind. You then got the Mercedes behind, and through the right hander they go. And it's 11 minutes and 50 seconds to go in this session. We're seeing more drivers come into their pits to do their mandatory stop, including Sa'a has done his mandatory stop now. On the left-hand side, the driver's yet to do that. Oh, it's a man that goes wide. Sloot's on the inside. Sloot's going to be able to move through. Surely it's going to be Miranda down the position to Blasicek as well. It's going to look like it. Miranda's on the outside. Blasicek looks to the inside. Can't quite do anything. This is now. Blasicek's already into the top 20. This is once again a battle for P number 19. Sloot's now up to 18th because we've just seen that Jim Garris is once again into the pit lane to do his mandatory stop. As Isaac Chavarer also down the pits once more with 11 minutes to go. As we're looking at this battle for P number 12. This is Eduardo Sa'a. Has now done his pit stop. Olivier Telgos, his red dot, his P on the left-hand side to say whether he's pitted or not was red before it disappeared as the pit window closed. So I'm not too sure whether Telgos actually did his mandatory stop or not. I'm not too sure, but this is a battle for P number 11. You've got Calvin White leading Edward Sa'a, leading Olivier Telgos here. We're currently on board with Telgos, looking towards that battle between Sa'a and White. White is only a second off of Nico Harpella in P number 10. So really, these cars could get themselves into a top 10 if they tried hard enough. They kept consistent for the remaining 10 minutes of the race. But Telgos is diving back into the pit lane. I think he's realised he's not done his mandatory stop, but it's too late. The window has closed. I think the window is closed. I don't think this is going to count as the mandatory stop. So he's now out of that battle. And now it's going to be Calvin White leading Nicholas Harpella, leading Eduardo Saar. This is a battle for top 10. Yeah, this is a battle for top 10. So White sits in 10th, Saar sits in 11th, and Harpella sits in 12th. It's only about a second and a half separate all three of them as they come up through the parabolica with less than 10 minutes to go in this race. Also, your race leaders, the gaps have closed from the 4 seconds that it was about 10 minutes ago. It's not closed too much. As you can see, it increases again along some of the straights. But I think we might get it within 1 second on the final lap of the race. We could have a battle and an attempted overtake for the lead of your race on that last lap. We shall have to see how that turns out as we're currently looking at this battle for P number 10. Calvin White goes wide though. It's going to allow Sa'ar to go through up to P10. He's going to have to hold the outside line. He turns in on White. He turns in. There's contact. Surely that's going to cause White to lose it. No, he gets it back on. But Sa'ar retains the position. White somehow able to stay on circuit and stay ahead of Nicolas Hapala. Now that is going to be a strange call as to whether that was a golden rule breach or not, because he definitely hindered Calvin White. He definitely caused White to lose a lot of time. But whose fault really was that? Because White did lose a lot of time in the corner previous, so that's going to be a strange conversation if a report is filed, really. But I say let's go with it for now. There's some issues through the hairpin. Palès trying to hold on ahead of Lorenzo Bonda. Loses a lot of time to Hillert. He's lost about half a second to Hillert because that was an attempted overtake there. Bonda just doesn't know how to get past Paleski. He moves to the outside into turn number 8. Tries to hold the outside line. Can't quite do it. Runs off the circuit. Paleski holds on to it at the moment as they come through turn number 10. As they aren't too far behind Jonas Hillert. So I think Bonda is trying his hardest to get past Paleski and try to catch up to Hillert and maybe get into a top 5. As Calvin White once again is going to attempt to get past as they head up towards the hairpin. There's also that battle between Nicolas Hapala and Colin Herx we can see in the distance. As there's a little bit too late on brakes, Calvin White is around and he's going to cause Edward Sa'ar to also go around. Sa'ar gets back on circuit, White gets back on circuit. He's going to get going again. As it doesn't really look good after almost being taken out by Sa'ar last lap. He then rear-ends Sa'ar this lap. So it's going to be interesting to see to see whether they can continue fighting for the remainder of this race. 2 seconds has increased between them now with only 7 minutes to go in the session. So I think it's opened up now and we shouldn't see too many more fights like that. But I don't think Sa'ar or White are going to be happy. They lose it outside of the top 10. They lose 2 positions to Hapala and to Herx. They're now in a battle for P number 12. They're only a second behind that battle for the top 10. So they're not outside of a top 10 yet. They can still achieve that position. This is a battle for P15, however. Charles Baccio able to recover from what was 26th position early on in the race. He's now into 15th, but he has got Olivier Telgers right behind him, all over the rear end of his car, attempting to make a move through. Also got Roy Magnus not too far behind him, my lovely favourite car of the Audi. But that is going to be a really scary sight to see in your rear view mirror, is a car that close to your rear ring. As Charles Baccio heads up towards turn number 2 now, and strangely enough, Telgers doesn't actually go for an overtake into turn 2. He remains behind. Obviously, he might be looking for overtaking location to turn 6. It's the best location to overtake. It's obviously the hairpin. It can be a very nice, easy move to make, but not to go for an overtake in turn 2. Not even to pull out and let Baccio know that he's there. It's very strange, but there goes through Telgers. A switch back from Charles Baccio. They're running side by side now, heading up through turn number 7. It's going to remain the 4 ahead. But no, the McLaren dives to the right hand side. He's going to be on the outside line now. This is a battle for P number 15. It's going to be a little bit of a wobble from Baccio, but it's going to be Telgers through. And he is now up to P number 15. Baccio down to P16. Telgers moves to the right hand side to defend. He moves back to the left to defend. I don't know whether that's allowed or not, or whether it was just going back to the racing line. Of course, going back to the racing line, a corner is allowed. So, slightly strange to see, again, I'm sort of debating some of the moves that are being made tonight. But it's Sunday, I'm tired, a lot of people are tired. But, of course, the racing is by no means being affected by that, because this is a great race indeed. The lead is remaining consistent between 3 and 4 seconds, so I don't think we're going to be able to see an overtake come the end of this race for the lead in your race. If it gets any closer, or a mistake by Orner very possibly could. Here goes Baccio, though, to get back past Elgus for P15. He's already through into turn number 2. He's just got to hold that inside line now. McLaren is able to get a much faster run on the outside line, able to hold it at the moment. Baccio will obviously have that run up towards the hairpin. I'm going to say its name now. Spitzkehr hairpin. My lovely butchering of German corner names, but he's going to move to the left-hand side as defensive goes Telgus to hold the inside line. Baccio breaks a little bit earlier. He wants to do the switch back, and he's going to be able to do it because Telgus breaks really late. But both of them are slipped, but Telgus goes around. Is going to lose it to McLaren. That was a big side from Baccio as well, but he's able to hold it. Roy Magnus now moves into 16th, and his Audi might be able to go to top 15 if he sticks close enough. This is a battle, though, for top 10 at the moment. Saar moves to the inside of Harpella. Can't quite do it. So, Saar obviously had that contact with White before that allowed Harpella and Hertz get into 10th and 11th. Saar's been able to get past Hertz and is now into 11th. Now, I thought that... I did say earlier on that I thought Roy Magnus was the only Audi to be running. He's not. Nico Harpella is the second of the 2 Audis to be running tonight. And I have to admit, I much prefer Nico Harpella's livery than I do Roy Magnus's livery tonight. But 3 minutes to go in this race. There are still a number of battles to be made, including this battle here for a top 10. So looks to the outside because Harpella, I think, has got a slowdown penalty because he has just dropped off about half a second after giving that position back. Giving that position to Saar. He's actually lost it over a second behind now. So I think that was a slowdown penalty and a little bit of anti-climax in that battle, really. This is a battle between Ovind Anderson, Ross Garland, Paul Martin. 3 cars involved. It's going to be Ross Garland to move to the outside of Ovind Anderson on the exit of the final turn. Can't quite do it. This is a battle for P number 24 in the race. 2 different Fords, and it's going to be Ross Garland going wide into turn number 1. Just braking a little bit too, I think, a bit too late, which forced him wide. He's now down behind Paul Martin, who's been able to get through. Martin looks to the inside of Ovind Anderson. There's contact between the 2 of them. Big 2 wheels, and around goes Martin. Luckily, no one else collected. Anderson going to remain in P number 24. I'm not too sure whether there was contact or not in that, or really if it was just a racing incident. But it's not exactly what you want right near the end of the race. More contact, obviously. Drivers going for the more ambitious overtakes now with just 2 minutes left to go in the session. Just 2 or 3 laps remaining. I think only 2 laps remaining. Depends on where George Ortner is on circuit. Your race leader, of course. The gap in your race lead has closed to 2 seconds, but I don't think it's going to close another 2 seconds in the final 2 minutes. So I don't think it's going to close enough for a nice little battle on the final lap. As this is Lewandowski looking to get past Ross Garland. He's now got involved in this battle. And it's going to be the 2 Fords battling away with each other at the moment in P number 25 and P number 26. As we've also got a battle between Hugard and Fiala. That's for 22nd. It's going to be McLaren leading the rough. There's a big slide from Fiala. It's going to, looks like it's going to be an attempted over. Oh, Fiala slows down a lot through the final corner. Now, I know that Fiala isn't the most confident of drivers, but he is a good driver. So, I don't know why he pulled out. Big 2 wheels through turn number 1. I don't know why he pulled out of that battle, though. Maybe he got a slowdown penalty. Very possible, of course. He's actually got Malachi Backus, who sits in 3rd right behind him. Now, remember, Malachi Backus started this race in 12th. He got up to 4th on the opening lap after some issues for Jonas Hillett, who was able to get onto the podium into 3rd. And that's where he's been for the entire race now, apart from when he did his pit stops, of course. 30 seconds to go in this race, though. This is going to be the last lap of the race, I believe, with George Ortner coming through the middle part of the course. 20 seconds to go on the clock. This will be the last lap. George Ortner, he didn't have an easy run to the victory. He qualified on the pole, yes, but he dropped immediately down to P number 4 in the race. He then had to fight back into P number 2, where he remained behind Mook for most of the first stint. He pitted earlier, and he jumped Mook with that undercut. He jumped him. He closed the 3-second gap that he had behind Mook and gained a 4-second advantage on top of that. and Mook has only been able to close half of that time down. And there's going to be 2 seconds between them as Ortner comes out of the final turn to win. It certainly wasn't the easiest fight we've seen for him, but he's going to cross the line a victor tonight. Jeremy Mook crosses the line just 2 seconds behind in second. Malachi Bacchus to come through the final chicane in third. Final chicane, what am I talking about? The final 2 corners in third to cross the line from an amazing 12th position. He finishes on the podium. Anders Murr not too far behind that. In fact, finishes in 4th position and will be very happy sitting in 4th in his BMW. 5th position with a very weird way to cross the line is Jonas Hillett, probably not happy with his race result. Radesh Paleski also crossing the line in 6th. There's a big crash off over the pit line there, as there's lots of smoke being kicked up. Here comes Lorenzo Bondolo to cross the line in 7th. What a race it has been here tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic indeed. It's probably been one of my more favourite races to watch. Hockenheim always creates spectacular races. The GTs, again, always create fantastic racing. And if you've loved this, then be sure to join us in 1 month's time. On the 8th of September, we go live for the Race Department GT Championship here on Race Room in the GTR3s. So we are definitely looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are too. However, that is going to be it from me. We're going to get our race results very shortly here. If you want to get involved in these races, be sure to head over to racedepartment.com and become a premium member today. Very cheap, only €10 for the entire year. As we get the final drivers across the line, here is your race result. Ortner wins your session with a fastest lap as well. Muke finishing in 2nd, only 1.7 seconds down. Bacchus finished in 3rd in the end, with Murr in 4th. Hillett, Paleski, Bonda, Davy van der Veen, Daniel Trapp and Eduardo Saar round out your top 10. Harpella, Herx, White, Sternbury, Baccio, Magnus, Sloot, Blazeski, Miranda and Crossen are your top 20. Your field was Ergen, Hugard, Fiala, Anderson, Lewandowski, Garland, Fenwick, Martin, Garas, Toga and Ab Elka running out your field. And it was Isaac Xavier being our only retirement in that race with full damage. It's absolutely fantastic, and we didn't lose him until the final 10 minutes of the session. What a race it has been here tonight. Then, like I said, if you enjoyed this, then be sure to check out Race Department. Be sure to join us in a month's time for the RD GTC as well. Be sure to join us next Sunday as we go once again into the Race Department's Sunday stream, which is Race Room Sunday. My most favourite time of the week indeed, and it helps me forget the fact that work and school is the next day. So hopefully it will continue like that for the rest of the year, and we'll be bringing you some amazing races. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I certainly have. Be sure to hit that thumbs up and to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and goodbye.